but the petition you were talking about came out of all these incessant stories, and some of them real, some of them very dark in terms of no details, nothing. But you just keep on thinking, are we in a society that is sane, or are we in a society that cares for its citizens, or are we in a society that needs change? Because one thing I believe is, we can make noise about this scourge of rape, child abuse and all that. We can make noise about it from now till eternity, but without providing a solution or providing ways at which it could be at least managed and reduced and even eliminated, that will be, we're making noise. It will just be, we are virtue signaling, and we are not finding solutions to peculiar problems. So it's not just a problem in Nigeria, or not just a problem in Africa. It's a problem worldwide, and it's been a problem that has existed as long as humans have been created in this world. And maybe it's time for us to at least put our feet down and look for a way forward. So I'll share the petitions, and I'll share a link for anybody who interested in voting it. But it's strictly, basically, to curb at least the majority of cases we are having, and the issue of yes and no. Yes, that's what I was even also very concerned about. I've heard different parts of the stories. I've read a lot, and I've kind of looked into the case and seen that there are loopholes everywhere. And we are not taking responsibility for that. No one is ready to take responsibility, but everybody is ready to shout and call names and accuse each other and witch hunt people. And I think it's time for us to tie and call a spade a spade. Yes, let's call a spade, and let's put a stop to this menace. Okay, we are going to be making sexual acts very highly legalized exercise. Yes. When I thought of it as a business, it actually made me laugh, or actually made me very very uncomfortable trying to even wrap my head around. But I felt, man, this thing happens in private, and it always coming out in public, and we don't even know how to assess the case. We don't know how, than just blaming one party and saying and protesting and sharing social media messages and noises and saying no, yes, no, yeah, what do you mean? And what some even said, what part of no don't you understand? The part of no that is not clear is that verbal no is no longer acceptable. The part of no that is not clear is that any no or yes that is not verbally not legally approved should be what? Null and void, and should be what? Handled by the law. It should be handled by the law as violation of the law. Yes, both of them should be handled by the law as violation of the law. We don't want to mix up our cases. We don't want to mix up our ideology, our sentiments, our emotions, and our time, because it's a waste of time if we don't get it right and we don't get it straight legally. So both parties, yes or no, whatever we have been promoting before, prior to this point, or whatever we're promoting earlier, yes and no is no longer a legally binding contract. Yes and no is an illegal term, or is an illegal contract, or is an illegal way of two people accepting to go into an activity that might end up wrongly or might not even. So let's get sanity into our system, let's get sanity into our society, let's get sanity into our justice system, so that we'll focus on real cases. We don't want to be distracted, we don't want to be having haphazard newses or noises. It should be legally binding, and so as such adults should understand their terms and conditions, because like I was telling before, yes and no means different things. Yes and no, it means different things to different people. Are you getting it? So we don't know the states of mind each of them both adults were going into their privacy to perform whatever they are doing, but yes and no can be expanded legally. That's the truth, with the help of their legal advisors. That's the truth. So both of them, with the help of their legal advisors, they understand their yes and no. They understand their terms and conditions, since they are adults and they believe they can do whatever they like. Yes, so they should actually do it in a more legal way and a more befitting way that makes the society sane. And believe you me, definitely most adults will not even want to start going into such sexual activities again. At least we know we are able to curb it at adult level and at levels that are not sure and unsecure for even both adults to be participating in. So it should be a business contract. Terms and conditions are applied, and it should be legally binding. I'm not telling you legally binding as in marriage. It should be, they are not getting married, but they are getting what they call it, legal approval for their yes and no. And it's very, very sane. It's a sane thing to do. It's an appropriate thing for a secular society, because not everybody have faith-based convictions like me or like some of us, and not everybody might be comfortable approving it at that faith-based level. So since we are in a legal system, we're in a secular system, we are mixed up, we have both different religions and those that are not even religious based. So the only thing that we look up to help us solve problems or to help us fight injustice is our law. So there should be a law passed that makes it illegal for yes and no. That is a petition. Makes it illegal for the term consent, or for the consent term yes and no. It should be illegal by verbal means. Any other way that makes it legal should be approved by the court of law or an a legal advisor between both parties, or between parties that are going to involve in such sexual activity or sexual acts at the back end or on their privacy of their life. Now, for this first text I'm sharing, we're in a corrupt legal society that is kind of imbalanced, and I don't see much being done, either because we are hiding some things, or because we are not sincere about some things, or about we are not trying to bring everything bare and make our lifestyle as plain as possible. That's where I'm coming up with this petition. Now, if I'm talking about adults, I'm not even talking about kid children. I'll get back to that. I'm talking about adults. Now, let's begin from the top before we bring it down to the bottom, because it seems there are a lot of things fueling this scourge. There are a lot of things fueling it, and whether we like it or not, whether we are religious or not, whether we are spiritual or not, whether we are accepting the fact or not, it's not just random incidents. This is not a random incident. It has never been a random incident. This scourge of rape, it has never been a random incident. Something fuels it, and something causes a lot of perversions. The same thing, you have laws all around the world. We have gun laws, right? You are not expected to hold a gun if you are not licensed and you have an age for gun, and certain weapons and certain other legal things guiding weapons and all that. So The same gun we use to kill, we can also use it to protect, right? And the same thing that leads to rape, which is sex and sexual activities, is also the same thing that causes procreation, that causes people to procreate and become families and all that. So there's a bittersweet part of it, there's a sad, and we understand the sweet part of it, where you have a family, you give birth to children, and you go on and raise family from sexual activities, right, as a married couple. Now, on the bitter part of it, where it's handled randomly and it's handled in a very obscure manner, you agree with me that it is not clear there. And I've looked at the problem we're having now, that say no, if no is no, no is no, yes is there, whatever whatever words that we are using to identify it. Now, you have two adults in a space, right? Male or female, male or male, because now we have different scenarios of the whole issue. So we have two adults. I'm not talking about an adult and a child. I'm talking about adults, and I'm talking about in the terms of consensual terms and conditions. Now, we have two adults in a space, and they're about to do what they are, have one or two or whatever sexual activities they are about to engage in. And we, as outsiders that don't know what is happening inside, we're talking about yes and no. And who decides yes and no? It's like both of them will have to decide it by themselves, right? And we don't know because we are trying to fake we know. We don't know, and anybody can come out tomorrow and say, I said yes or I said no, and it still happened and all that, and we still categorize it as rape. Fine. Now, in that case, I believe as a society as advanced and civilized as the world is now, Nigeria, US, and any other country, as civilized as we are, as long as it is going to be word for word and all that, it should become a business contract. Yes, that is what I'm trying to say. That for adults going to consensual sexual activities, there should be a contract and there should be legal terms and conditions, because it's also going to be less of a hassle that when everything is made plain and there's a legal clause guiding that yes and no contract, and it's being legalized, and it's not just verbal agreement, because you will not do a business with anybody by mere verbal agreement. So you should not go into, or we should not condone any sexual activity outside marriage or outside the marital contractual agreement. We should not tolerate it between anybody without any legal binding or legal agreement. So even if they say they don't want to get married, fine, but there should be a way they meet a lawyer or whoever legal advisor, which the essence of the petition is also talking about. Meet legal advisors and they say, okay, you two decided to have sexual activity or sexual affair or whatever affair as singles, as adults, and as consensual citizens. So because you are on the age of consent, so since you have decided, we are giving you legal approval. So tomorrow nobody comes and say it was yes or no. And if at the before the end of the contract one of them decide to pull out, and then there's also going to be a way of dealing with that. So it's not just about saying no or yes. So if these are verbal agreements, and these are verbal contracts, which we are too enlightened to actually take that as a legal binding agreement. So both yes and no is illegal, and it should be made very, very illegal. Yes and no consent is no longer allowed, or should not be allowed, between adults consenting for sexual activities. It should not be allowed, and it should not be tolerated. In fact, it should be made punishable by both parties. So we don't have cases where we are mixing up too many scenarios. So we don't know who is saying yes, who is saying no, and we don't know who is being real, having the real issue of being raped. So we want to put aside every sentiment and make sure that any legal contract between adults or any agreement between two adults can be termed a contract and can be approved legally before they go into their sexual activities, or before they go into their acts, or before they go into their, I know it's very drastic, but believe you me, this is a very clear indication of what we can do to actually reduce and actually separate the cases, so we know who is really having issues with the rape and who is the victims and who are the culprits, and we know how to bring them to book, so that we don't mix up too many stories, too many news, too many incidents, and we don't even know where to start from. So having a verbal agreement is no longer, yes or no, it's no longer a legal consent. It's actually an illegal consent, because you don't do business with verbal agreement. So you should not go into sexual activities with just verbal agreement. It should be made legally binding, and it should be signed by approved legal practitioners or registered legal practitioners, so that we know who is who and who is responsible for what. Now, earlier before I actually drafted the petition and shared the petition, I actually did what was talking about the scourge from a not on this platform and on my social media platform. I was actually talking about the scourge from a religious point of view, or from faith point of view. So somebody was also asking me at the back end that what about in a society where the law is secular, it's not based on any religion or any faith-based convictions. And I said, okay, there are secular ways we can do it, and that's where I came up with the legally binding attributes of sexual activities between adults. Yes, I'm telling you this, that if it's approved in every country, and if it's approved in every sector of the economy, or any part of every part of the world, if it's approved, we are not going to be having incidents of unlawful sexual activities. We're not going to be having incidents of even prostitution. We're not going to be having incidents of even abuse in any form that is becoming very, very degenerate in our society. So we are going to be having cases that happens violently, and we know how to handle that normally, legally. And we will not start having mixed conceptions about two adults going into agreement verbally, and as educated as we are, as learned as we are, I would have thought that this would have been solved a long time ago. How do two adults get to agree on a business? For example, you are going into a business partnership with somebody, and they tell you the business partnership is based on what you agree on legally, and your handshake, no documentation, no black and white processes, no legal binding, nothing. It's just the business enterprise or your business partnership is just based on your voice, your word versus my word. In this world, it doesn't really, that will not fly, and nobody will even agree to that. Most businesses will not even survive to this point if it was that kind of laws that we are using to bind business partners. So the same thing, sexual partners, whether they are married or not married. For example, I'm just mostly even focusing on those who are not married, because that's where we are always having issues. Now, sexual partners that are not married but they are adults and they want to go into such activities or such acts privately, it can never be private because the backlash comes out as public. Yes, you see two adults or two people, we don't know if they are consenting or not, but they go into secrets to carry out their sexual activity, and one comes out, any of them comes out and say it's rape, and say he or she or that particular, they were saying no, yes, and all that. So it's kind of confusing, and we are off that stage at this point in time. We are off that part of giving verbal consent or allowing verbal consent in the court of law, and allowing verbal consent as a way of approval for something that, when it comes out negative or when it comes out as rape, everybody knows who to start punishing. Everybody starts looking for ways to unleash their annoyance and all that, and it's just happening, and nobody's even thinking that, okay, why can't we curb these unnecessary stories and unnecessary actions between adults who think they can go in secret and perform something and come out and say is and make it public and say it's rape or it's this or it's abuse or it's violence and all that. So automatically there should be a way for both of them to legally agree on whatever they want to do. It's a business contract. Believe you me, it's a business contract, and it should be seen as a business contract. Whether it lasts 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it's already a business contract, because if it goes south, if it goes the other way, we are going to be talking about a different story entirely. So let's know what story we are facing. Let's know who we are casting blames on, and who should be responsible for their lifestyle. Now, sexual activities should no longer be a private issue. In terms of, it should no longer be two people trying to do it secretly or have a private life or have a no, because if it comes out, it's always coming out public. So there's no need for us to start keeping it private or keeping it secret. Fine. You have if your religion does not accept it, then automatically you know where your conscience lies. If your religion accepts it, fine. If you don't have any religious convictions, fine. But as long as you are going into any sexual activity as an adult, two adults going into sexual activity, there should be a responsible way of getting them to agree on their terms and conditions, because no to one person might mean yes to somebody else, and yes to somebody might mean no. So the word no, yes, it's not flying at all. It's not even making sense. It's not even a reasonable way as human beings to even start saying, because what might mean no in one situation might not mean no in another situation. So we don't know what happens or what transpires between the two adults, and we don't care to know. But as long as they register their yes and no legally and make it legally binding, automatically you will not have issues where somebody comes out and say they changed their mind, and even if they change their mind, there's always there's the part of the legal that says the contract can be terminated. And it's also going to attract one or two penalties based on, because it's a business. Yes, it's a business, and it's based on what the two people agree as a contract. There should be a standard template that every citizen, every adult that is interested in carrying out one or two sexual activities for their leisure, they should be able to be signing and be getting approval from legal advisors or registered lawyers, so that tomorrow in court cases we know where to start the story from. We know where to, because now it's becoming very insane, very unhealthy, and very toxic. Even the talk about it is becoming toxic. So I think finding a solution, and the solution is for it to be legally binding. Your yes should be legally binding, your no should be legally binding. If it's not legally binding, then you are taking an illegal consent. Yes, If you are taking verbal consent, yes, no, as a way to go ahead with your private life, definitely it becomes illegal, and both parties will be handled by the law. So making it illegal for verbal consent and making it legal for yes and no consent between two adults that are interested in carrying out the activities. So automatically we know what cases that are real and what cases that are just noise making and what cases are just a way of victimizing people, or what cases that are out of what they call it, out of scope in terms of how it happened. Because if it's out of scope, means we're not there when it happened, so we don't even know the details. There's not even a what they call it. There's no way anybody would have been there to attest to it. So adults should be taking responsibility for their actions and for their yes or no consent. So yes or no consent will no longer be verbal. Yes or no consent will be legal. So I've kind of explained the number one in details, that it becomes any sex or any sexual activity that's for adults outside the marital contract should be what? Illegal. And that is very, very key to us really putting everybody in place, making everybody responsible for their action, and making everybody very, very active in the fight against real rape cases. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It happens a lot, and most of the time we don't. I've seen the statistics that even shows that most of the time the real people that did the rape, 99% or 90% of them get away with it, and sometimes innocent people get involved and imprisoned and get locked up for what they did not do. And for those that did it, I like the justice system to bring them to book, because if we're always getting the culprits or the assailants in these cases, definitely it's going to be a headway. But in cases where we are not sure who is the culprit, who is the assailant, where two adults lock themselves in the room, and even now you see teenagers doing that. So I think there should be a level of sanity that comes into the society at this point. We cannot be putting our heads in the sand or start feeling this person is wrong and this person is right, or this person is, so we start having different stories. We don't want that. So for two adults consenting to such sexual activity indoors, in private, definitely you need a legally binding document or a legally binding approval by a legal consultant or lawyer or a court or whatever. That makes it very sane, so that at the end of the day, they know what they are going into. At the end of the day, nobody feels cheated, or nobody feels devalued, or nobody feels insulted, or nobody feels raped, or nobody feels. And really, it's because we have allowed this scourge fly and allowed unnecessary verbal consent to be accepted, because verbal consent changes every time. Verbal consent, you can't. I've heard of cases that in between the activities between the adults, consensual, this one is even consensual, both of them, they were in between their actions and all that, one of them say no. One of them said no, and the debate has been anywhere the no comes from should be accepted. That is illogical, that is unreasonable, and that is really not a proper way of granting consent to two adults. Like I've said before, if we as adults are going to take responsibility for our action, then it should be legally binding responsibility we are taking. If we are going to else don't go ahead and do that, or else don't get involved with that. Are you getting it? So else we don't no need getting involved with that if we are not going to take responsibility for our action at the end of the day. I'm not specifying on any gender or any particular sex, but I'm just saying generally there should be a sanity to any case or all the stories we are seeing. And believe you me, this will put lots of adults or even those who are trying to have a private life in that section, it will put them at bay, and it will make everybody curb their appetite, at least at the general level. Everybody knows this is the standard. And from the two, you can see that I was talking about all parties with evidence. So all parties that are going to get involved in any sexual activity by verbal consent only, yes or no, both of them should be breaking the law, and both of them should be handled by the law by the appropriate authorities. Yes, both of them should be handled by the appropriate authorities because they are breaking the law. There's no verbal consent and there's no verbal agreements that is acceptable at this point in time. Everything that should be acceptable at this point in time should be legally binding. Yes, legally binding. We are adults and we should be treated as adults. So if two adults decide to go and have a private life, definitely it's not going to be private when it comes out the wrong way. We are going to start blaming one party. We're going to start holding one party over the other, and which is injustice anyway, in one way, because we don't really know what happened. The two adults didn't even inform you because they didn't inform the public. That's where it's getting very funny. The two adults that they are trying to have their activities privately, they didn't inform the public that they are going to do so thing in public, and everybody should take note so that they just did it quietly, and it comes out strongly, and it becomes public, and is now blame game and your word against my word, which is not acceptable. We are adults and we should be treated as such. It's a business contract. Every sexual activity henceforth, according to the petition, should be like a business contract. Before you go into it, let it be signed, let it be approved legally, so that we know where the problem lies. We know who is fooling who is fooling the public, or who is trying to use it as a tool to get attention or favor or whatever have you. At that level, it should be caught at that level. Then we know we are dealing with cases with children, cases adults and children. We know how to deal with that. At least we have systems in place to actually focus on that. We focus on cases where it's violent, where it's means somebody went to ravage somebody else and all that. So we know how to treat those cases, because those are the cases that are really appalling. Those are the cases that are really appalling. The other cases where there are no evidences, no witness, nothing, and it's just word against word, it's kind of going to be very unjust not to have a way of making it legally open for both parties. Before you agree on anything, before you agree on any action or act, let it be legally approved. And if it's not legally approved and you go ahead and do it, and you are caught with evidences, automatically it means both of them will face the wrath of the law. And that makes it very decent for anybody getting into it. Will be getting it with their eyes open, with at least witnesses and law approval and all that, and we know where to go from there, and we know how to handle cases that comes out like that. So I will say that teenagers will also be dealt with by the law as juveniles if they are caught engaging in any form of sexual activity. And it's not because they are teenagers, or because most times we don't even know what to do with these teenagers when we see them doing than shout and talk and all that, and it still goes on without the parents or the adults, responsible adults around knowing. So it's going to curb the teenagers' excesses and their appetites if they are caught, and they will go in for it. They can be fined, community service, which is any penalty that is applicable to teenagers by law and by court of law should also be applicable to teenagers who get involved in sexual activities. Now, we'll also blame some adults that makes, or that are bad role models for these teenagers, or that makes expose teenagers to this kind of lifestyle or this kind of acts. So automatically, if adults that are not legally having legal binding or any form of legal approval, if they are not able to partake in it at random at anywhere, because and cannot pollute our teenagers anyhow, so automatically we find that the teenagers will not have bad role models to be looking up to, or looking at to go ahead and actually have sexual activities within themselves. So it rules that ability for teenagers to even get involved, because they are no longer bad adult role models anymore, or their adult role models are nowhere to be found. And even the ones that are around, definitely it's going to be very difficult for them to even get those kind of legal approval, because it has to be well monitored by the law, monitoring the adults. So if adults cannot even get approval easily, so automatically, children, our teenagers will not be polluted. They will not be having avenues to get access to even pornography, or even sexual activities of uncles, aunties, or whoever adults that are around them. So we know, okay, fine, it's their parents that are now, we know who are pointing the fingers, so we know who are going to be holding responsibility. It's not even a matter of pointing fingers to, it's now about taking responsibility for our actions. So it should be illegal for teenagers, in as much as it's illegal for what adults. So the orientation we are bringing up our teenagers with is clear. Yes, it's going to be so clear that nobody mixes it up, and nobody will even give because the teenagers who can't even have cases where a teenager wants to go and get approval to carry out sexual activity because they are teenagers. It can't happen. So automatically we actually are going to be putting sanity amongst our teenagers, amongst our young ones, and amongst our youths. Because this starts from, most times it could start from teenage years, and automatically goes into adult years, and automatically becomes a scourge on everyone and every party. And funny enough, it's the innocent ones that are suffering. Those who are guilty are not the ones suffering all this scourge. Is the innocent ones. The guilty ones are not suffering it. The guilty ones are busy going about their daily lives, are busy going about getting away with it. Is the innocent ones in the society that are suffering this. The young ones, the people that are ravaged or violated out of rage and all that, and violence. So those are the ones that are really suffering it. But we need to put sanity even from adults. Then that message is passed to the teenagers, and if the teenagers will not have they will not have role models to be looking up to for that kind of lifestyle. I'll grow up in that. Even for cases that it happens to them, definitely will know how to trace and track and at least bring those culprits to justice. So I will say that teenagers will also be dealt with by the law as juveniles if they are caught engaging in any form of sexual activity. And it's not because they are teenagers, or because most times we don't even know what to do with these teenagers when we see them doing than shout and talk and all that, and it still goes on without the parents or the adults, responsible adults around knowing. So it's going to curb the teenagers' excesses and their appetites if they are caught, and they will go in for it. They can be fined, community service, which is any penalty that is applicable to teenagers by law and by court of law should also be applicable to teenagers who get involved in sexual activities. Now, we'll also blame some adults that makes, or that are bad role models for these teenagers, or that makes expose teenagers to this kind of lifestyle or this kind of acts. So automatically, if adults that are not legally having legal binding or any form of legal approval, if they are not able to partake in it at random, at anywhere, because and cannot pollute our teenagers anyhow, so automatically you find that the teenagers will not have bad role models to be looking up to, or looking at to go ahead and actually have sexual activities within themselves. So it rules that ability for teenagers to even get involved, because they are no longer bad adult role models anymore, or their adult role models are nowhere to be found. And even the ones that are around, definitely it's going to be very difficult for them to even get those kind of legal approval, because it has to be well monitored by the law, monitoring the adults. So if adults cannot even get approval easily, so automatically, children, our teenagers, will not be polluted. They will not be having avenues to get access to even pornography, or even sexual activities of uncles, aunties, or whoever adults that are around them. So we know, okay, fine, it's their parents that are now, we know who are pointing the fingers, so we know who are going to be holding responsibility. It's not even a matter of pointing fingers to, it's now about taking responsibility for our actions. So it should be illegal for teenagers, in as much as it's illegal for what adults. So the orientation we are bringing up our teenagers with is clear. Yes, it's going to be so clear that nobody mixes it up, and nobody will even give because the teenagers who can't even have cases where a teenager wants to go and get approval to carry out sexual activity because they are teenagers. It can't happen. So automatically we actually are going to be putting sanity amongst our teenagers, amongst our young ones, and amongst our youths. Because this starts from, most times it could start from teenage years, and automatically goes into adult years, and automatically becomes a scourge on everyone and every party. And funny enough, it's the innocent ones that are suffering. Those who are guilty are not the ones suffering all this scourge. Is the innocent ones. The guilty ones are not suffering it. The guilty ones are busy going about their daily lives, are busy going about getting away with it. Is the innocent ones in the society that are suffering this. The young ones, the people that are ravaged or violated out of rage and all that, and violence. So those are the ones that are really suffering it. But we need to put sanity even from adults. Then that message is passed to the teenagers, and if the teenagers will not have enough, they will not have role models to be looking up to for that kind of lifestyle. I'll grow up in that. Even for cases that it happens to them, definitely will know how to trace and track and at least bring those culprits to justice. Okay, now you say, because somehow if you sit down with yourself and think of it, why are people having sexual activities outside maybe marriage? Why are people having sexual? I'm not talking from even a religious point of view. I'm not talking about your Christian faith or your Islamic faith or your Buddhist faith, any other. I'm not talking about any religion now. Sit down as a normal human, thinking human being and ask yourself, why are people getting involved in sexual activity? Outside religion, why? What is the health benefit? What is the mental benefit? What is the esteem benefits to any human being? I'm not judging anybody, I'm not criticizing anybody, but I'm just thinking as a rational human being, why is anybody getting involved with sexual activity? Outside marriage, outside any other thing, why? And you find that there's no reason why. There's no health benefit, there's no mental health benefit, there's nothing, there's no benefit outside marriage that anybody should get involved in sexual activity. So then, since it has no health benefit, since it has no mental health benefit or improving anybody's self-esteem, so automatically, so what is the essence? So it automatically calls for it to be even illegal. Yes, it calls for it to be illegal, and you are not even. It's not even your human right. Is how is sexual outside marriage or outside people trying to have children? How is sexual activity part of your human rights or part of our human rights? How? Please do explain if you know. How is it part of your human rights? If you want to procreate and it's going to be legally binding, then go to get married. If you don't want to get married, then get legal consent to do that and all that, so that we know who we are dealing with, we know what we are dealing with, we know where our lines are crossing, and we know where our lines are being muddled up with sentiments. So physically speaking, or medically speaking, or mentally speaking, or psychologically speaking, there is no ailment that sexual activity can cure or has been curing. Number one, there's no injury that sexual activity can cure or has been curing. There's no phobia or anything or psychological ailments that sexual activity has been curing or can cure. So what is the essence of us even allowing it into society? Yes, what is the essence of it being promoted or being accepted in the society, even in private? So now, we know some people can't curb their appetite, or some people would disagree. Yeah, some people would disagree. I'm not saying that should be a point that should be hammered, that it should be totally. So for adults who think they need it to benefit them or to become part of their lives, one way or the other, then there should be legal consent or legal approval. They should go through the legal way of doing it, so that if tomorrow it comes out that this person or that person, and we know okay, this person has a legal approval or is not having the legal approval, and it's not even since it's not even your human rights, then we know how to treat the case. We know how to treat the cases. So sexual activities are not part of our human rights. They are not part of our any way of helping us physically or emotionally as humans. You can have somebody from birth till death, they didn't involve in any form of sexual activity. Yes, we can, and nothing would. They will not develop any illness or develop any form of dysfunctional mindset because they didn't have any sexual activity since they were born till they died, maybe 100 years ago. So it's 100 years later. So it's not, since it's not of no health benefit aside procreation and for marital bliss, then definitely it should be scrapped out from. It should be made illegal and scrapped out from any form of from the public. Yes, so that we know who is fooling who. We know what cases are real and what cases. And definitely once you do that and everybody is cautious that this thing is illegal and not even approved at any level aside, then we will have people actually curbing their appetite and redirecting their energy to do something more productive for their life aside involving in sexual activities. Yes, people it's a mindset thing. It's a programming thing. We have been programmed to believe that there's a special benefit, or there's a special attributes, the attributes that somebody benefits from it outside procreation. So automatically it should be made illegal. It should be made legally binding for anybody that wants to get into it. So if it's not legally binding, then anybody getting into it is illegal, and anybody caught going into it or promoting it or doing anything, automatically we know they are breaking the law, and we know how to handle them, and we know what the law says about it. So everybody will be cautious. Everybody will be at their own, curb their own appetite and curb their excesses when it comes to that this matter. So it should be it's of no health benefit. Definitely, it's of no benefit aside procreation, and it should be discouraged aside marriage or any other form of legally approved consent and all that. It should be legally approved, and if it's not legally approved, then that means whoever is whatever party that is going to it, they are doing it illegally, and if they are caught, they should be dealt with the law. Now, this is also a very sensitive one. We have seen several news where you have people going into prison for false rape accusations. Yes, that is it. That also is also a bad scourge. That is also, as worse as the case, real rape cases are, the false rape accusation is also a scourge. Even somebody going in for, that was in the US, 28 years imprisonment, some 6, 7, 8 different years. Is 28 years of somebody's life gone for a crime or a case that he or she wasn't involved with or doesn't even know. That is the height of injustice in any system. That is the height of injustice, and we are all responsible for such cases. My mantra is, any innocent person that is treated unjustly or that is being punished by the law unjustly, it is all our injustice that causes it. And if we get hold of culprits or bring culprits to justice and make them pay for their crimes, that is also our justice. So if innocent people suffer, it is our injustice. It's not the injustice of the court. It's not the injustice of the government. It's the injustice of the society. It's the injustice of the masses that is working against that person. But if somebody is guilty and was brought to justice, automatically it's our justice that bring that. It's not the justice of the court alone. It's the justice of the society, of the masses, justice of you, me, everybody, that brings that person to book. And if a guilty person runs away and can't be found after committing a crime, is also our injustice that causes it. So it's not we us blaming the courts or blaming the police. It's everybody's fault. It's everybody's laxities, everybody's consent one way or the other to allow that person go away scot-free. So we should take note. Everybody's responsible for justice, and everybody's responsible for injustice in the society. So if you have false rape accusations, so what do we do? Now, after investigations carried out, because some of the times we don't know if the cases were really investigated, but cases that we have that false rape accusations, fine. If it was a case of someone being ravaged, we know that is almost like terrorism. We know, okay, fine, we are going to look for the culprit and deal with the culprit. But if it's a case that we are not too sure, we don't know what happens, both of them, definitely they are doing something illegal, and definitely if there were no legal approval for their yes and no before they go ahead with whatever they are doing, both of them will be going for it. So there will be no case where we have false accusations. And where there is a false accusation, where nothing happened and somebody just wake up and say they dreamt that somebody else raped them and they pointed fingers and all that kind of insane case or crazy case, we know what we are dealing with. That person will also be handled by the law. So every false rape accusation will be handled as if the person reporting the rape case actually performed the rape case. So the punishment that will be meant for any rapist or any person that goes with rape will be handed upon the person providing false accusation. And their alibis, yes, and their alibis, because some of them don't even work alone. They plan it and they execute it. So every party involved in false rape accusation, which in our society we don't even deal with them, we just let them be, we just let them take it. But you punish to the full extent of the law somebody that you find guilty, and somebody that is accusing somebody else to make them guilty of a crime they didn't commit, and they know they didn't commit that crime, and they are caught, and we just let them be and say we just let them slide. Nobody is saying anything about it. That is injustice in the highest order in any society. That is the height of injustice, and I don't believe we are okay with that, or we are fine with those kind of cases of false rape allegations. So injustice of that kind of sort, what happens is automatically, what do? That person bringing out the false accusation knowingly just to defame somebody else, automatically you go in for it. There's no bargaining, there's no apology, there's no being sorry there. You go in for it. So it puts everybody that is trying to bring out claims that are not real, that are misleading, automatically they put them at bay, and they know that if they are caught falsely accusing somebody else for rape or sexual assault, automatically you will be punished for it. And if, for example, we have minors that are tailored or they are controlled by adults, or I don't know, to accuse somebody else, maybe a minor accusing an adult, because the adult to the minor is manipulating the minor against another adult. So automatically that kind of case, that kind of minor, that's the child or a teenager or whoever, that teenager, since they can't be punished to the full extent of the law till they get to their 18th birthday, then they can go for their prison term or for community service or whatever. So automatically it's not going to just be the child or the teenager that will go in for it in their 18th birthday or before their 18th birthday. Definitely the adults that conspired with the child or with the teenager will also go in for it. So they will be bearing the same brunt of their accusation, because putting people in prison when there's no crime of rape, just because you want to punish somebody or you want to demean somebody or bring, that is so unjust. That is so unjust. That is so unjust, and it should be treated with the high hand of the law. It should not be taken lightly. It's so unjust. Everybody should be sane. We should be in the same society. We can't be saying we are civilized, and we are just allowing things slide under the carpet. We are not protesting or exercising our voice where we need to exercise our voice. We're only looking for cases where it's easy to just identify. No, there are going to be difficult cases to identify. So the earlier we start making it clear what a sexual activity entails and what it should not be in our society, and it should not be giving consent to, automatically we are making everybody sane again. We are putting everybody at their seat, so nobody comes out, nobody becomes an instrument of aggression against somebody else, or use the law against somebody else because they feel they have power, because they feel the society is in favor of punishing people unrulingly. So automatically those are cases of injustice, and those are cases that should be treated, and it should not be allowed to slide under the carpet anymore. Okay, finally, and there are cases where, okay, two adults consent to go and have their activity at closed doors, and what happens? One of them change their mind and say no, they are no longer interested and they don't want to go ahead with the contract. Definitely they are free to do so. That's their that's their rights to terminate the contract, right? So if the depends on the contract, depends on what is being signed. If there is a reversal of the contract immediately, definitely it should go, it should be terminated, and it should not by them, it should also be terminated legally. So you can't terminate your contract, you can't consummate your contract legally and want to terminate it illegally by your yes and no consent. So it should be terminated, and that will mean there should be a system for any of the parties involved in the contract to contact their legal advisor immediately. We have different ways. There are WhatsApp, you can call, you can call, so that even if there's a case that somebody is being aggressive, that I will not terminate my contract, automatically we know that we know who is the violator now. We know who is the aggressor now. We're not going to be playing that nobody knew about it. So immediately that party should send a message or and let the legal advisor come look for way of, because it's going to be a new kind of job for legal advisors too, or new kind of work process for legal advisors too. So there should be a way of calling the contract off even while they are not with them. Yes, there should be a way of calling the contract off even while we're not with them. If it involves alerting the police that somebody is trying to go ahead with a contract that has been terminated. So we know who is the aggressor, then we know who we are arresting, and we know who is going to be going in for violating that law. So for legally approved that wants to be revoked, it is possible, and it should be easy as possible. But whoever is going, because we also have cases where some people just want to be going through that revocation and causing unnecessary, unhealthy panic everywhere. So automatically they should also be fined for going to, if you don't want to go ahead with a contract, if you want to terminate or revoke a contract at the later part of your decision, automatically you should not even start going ahead with it. Yes, there's nobody's winch hunting anybody, nobody's deceiving anybody. If you know you are not going to, there's no even need nobody should put you, and nobody for such contract, nobody should be under duress. Because if there are legal advisors and so I don't think anybody should be doing it under duress or under compulsion or under any form of threat. So you are doing it with your eyes wide open, and you are doing it with your whole conscience alert. And if you know you are going to terminate it in future, there's no need to start it. So if you do that, automatically you are going to be fined for it. You might not go to prison or do anything, but you are going to be fined for it. So that next time, before you, as an adult, before you take any decision, you should think of it very carefully, and you should know who you are going into agreement with. Yes, you should know who you are going into agreement with. So if you are not too sure, there's no need starting the agreement. So if you start it and at the middle or at the point of consummating your contract or your yes or no, you get involved in any this and you want to terminate, fine, you can terminate and get away with your dignity and your life, but you will be fined for that. Yes, it will be fined for that. You'll be fined lightly, or depending on what the society agrees on, they will be fined for it, and it will make them very cautious next time of going into any contract or causing any kind of panic in a contract that you willingly sign and all that. So let's make it a business contract. Let's make sexual activity as legal as possible, because that will bring sanity. We can't start pointing accusing fingers or start pretending that we want to find a solution, and yet we don't want to find a solution. So these are the solutions I'm proposing, and I'll share the link to the petition. If you're interested, you sign. It's not a do or die affair, but I thought it's the same way to go from here, and at least to manage every situation and to put know how we play our cards and know how we address every situation, so that we don't muddle everything up, muddle everybody's story up, and start getting toxic about it. So the petition, the link is there. It's to the United Nations Agency for Crime and Drug, and there are sub-agencies. So you just click and let's see how we go from there, and raise our voices to say that we want to make the consent yes and no illegal verbally and make it legally binding. Yes, so if it's legally binding, there should be a lawyer in place to sign for both parties, or agree with both parties that this is what your yes means, this is what your no means, this is what your yes will lead to, this is what your no will lead to, so that everybody is acting in a sane manner. Now, people involved with the yes or no thing is, I'm not saying they are doing it wrong, but it's not even, how do you justify yes and no verbally? It's not even justified verbally. So if you can't sign a contract verbally like that, then we should not even sign a sexual activity verbally like that. It should be legally binding. They should go through the process of the law. So before they finish the process, they might change their mind and they say they don't want again. And fine, we know it saves us the stress, but at least we don't have to put ourselves in situations where everybody is making noise about the issues and nobody's finding a solution, or nobody's bringing out their voices to say this is what we can do to stop it, without making it a toxic topic against any gender or against any sex or against anybody or against any party, and everybody's thinking straight and everybody's making their voice clear and making their decision clear. Yes and no is no longer acceptable verbally. It is no longer acceptable legally. It is no longer acceptable by law. It should be yes and no with legal documents and legal advisor and legal approval. Yes, so that we know how we treat our cases and we know how to handle it, and it will actually reduce the process of people going ahead with such activity without any legal approval. If you know you have to go to a legal approval to have any kind of sexual activity at you, definitely you don't want to go through it if it's not worth it. Nobody will be coming up if it's not worth it. So you know what we are going into and what you should not be going into, even as adults. So we should be responsible adults, because we are role model to our teenagers, we are role model to our children, and we are role model to the rest of the world. So we should be responsible adults. Thank you.